session. We're now ready to continue with the public portion of our meeting. The President's report is twofold tonight. First of all, I want to recognize Stephen Reitberger, Coach Reitberger, who has been with this district for many, many years, who Dirk said started at the Central School, stayed long enough to see the Central School come back to us. He is a leader among the faculty. He has been a friend and a mentor to many, many, many generations of Glenridge children. He will be retiring at the end of the school year, and he will be much missed. So we will have time at another day to celebrate all of his accomplishments. I hope he'll come here and let us celebrate with him. But for now, I'd just like to recognize Stephen Reitberger. And secondly, those of you who were with us for our last meeting know that after the public session, we adjourned to executive session for some legal training, which was provided by our New Jersey School Boards Association Field Service Representative, Charlene Peterson. One of Ms. Peterson's suggestions was to review the sections of our bylaws that pertain to the public comment portion of our meetings and to adhere more strictly to those bylaws in future board meetings. It should go without saying, but we would also like to remind everyone that board members are volunteer public servants as well as parents. Public comment should center on education and district-related issues without reference to specific board members' families or other personal information. The following bylaws, listed as 167 in our policy manual, are not new. They were first adopted in 2002, revised in 2008, and revised again in 2012 and 2016. They are in keeping with New Jersey statute, and they are as follows. A participant must be recognized by the presiding officer and must preface comments by an announcement of his or her name, place of residence, and group affiliation, if any, or appropriate. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 2 minutes duration. No participant may speak more than once on the same topic until all others who wish to speak on that topic have been heard. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No participant may address or question board members individually. The presiding officer may do the following: interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant's statement when the statement is too lengthy, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. Request any individual to leave the meeting when that person does not observe reasonable decorum. Request the assistance of law enforcement officers in the removal of a disorderly person when that person's conduct interferes with the orderly progress of the meeting. Call for a recess or adjournment to another time when the lack of public decorum so interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting as to warrant such action. And the presiding officer may also waive these rules when necessary for the protection of privacy or the efficient administration of the board's business. And that is the President's report. Mr. Phillips.
Several items I'm going to report out on. First, the Department of Education has released some information. Today we actually received notice with the state testing. They announced that no 11th grader will be required to take an end of the year course test, which would be our English 11 class. And if we had 11th graders taking Algebra 2, they are not required to take that. They had proposed that in the fall. We thought it was going to be approved in December, but with some pending lawsuits that occurred based on graduation assessment requirement, it wasn't finalized until recently. Last week, the Department of Education released the school performance reports, and those are information about each individual school relating to student demographics, teacher demographics, standardized test scores, if the students take that. Forrest and Lynn, there isn't any standardized test scores reported out on. Graduation rates, just a wealth of information. Ours can be found on the state website. I will have our 4 school performance reports posted within the next couple of days on our webpage. And this week we are also going through state monitoring as a district, and we have the county coming in Friday to go through our QSEC process. Construction update. This week we're taking opening bids for the HVAC projects at Linden Avenue School and Forest Avenue School, plus a window replacement at Central School. Last week I sent out a letter to the Ridgewood Avenue families about, in April we're going to have to do an abatement project at Ridgewood Avenue School as part of the C project. It was an ideal time to do it since there will be no one in the school. It will be removal of several pipes and some ceiling tiles. It's a limited scope, so that time frame would allow us to complete it over the April break. Retirement, I do want to talk about Mr. Reitberger. As President Ginsburg mentioned, he started his career in Glen Ridge at Central School. In the same year, he actually started coaching boys soccer. So 1981 was his first year in Glen Ridge. I have to check to see if that's the longest tenure as a coach. He has had a great deal of success as the boys soccer coach. He did coach golf for several years, which I think he truly enjoyed the luxury of being able to play golf a few times during the week. But more importantly, Mr. Reitberger as a teacher is going to be sorely missed. He's a leader. He's well respected. You can always count on him to give you an honest feedback. He was always an individual who would step up if we need volunteer, whether it was for crisis management team, whether it was any initiative we were looking to start. Mr. Reitberger was always eager to participate within the school. I wish him the best as he finishes out his last 3 months of his teaching career. And tonight we have the preliminary budget report, which will be done by our school business administrator, Barbara Murphy.
I just have one question about the 11th graders. Is there no testing requirement for graduation?
The testing requirement for the current 11th and 12th grade is Algebra 1 and English 10. They have not settled beyond that with the test requirement. That was the lawsuit that was brought up. The 11th graders will still be required to take the comprehensive science exam. That they're not exempt from that. That's not considered an end of the year course. She's over there, so you got to point it that way.
Did you turn it on?
Over there.
The power's on the side of it.
Sorry. Okay, here we go. Thank you. Our budget process. So our finance committee meets throughout the year. We have meetings with district administrators throughout the year to review academics, personnel, supplies, and facility needs. The preliminary budget is on tonight's agenda for approval and will be submitted to the county on Wednesday. The finance committee will continue to meet on the budget until the final budget is approved. The public hearing on the budget will be on April 29th, and the budget will be on the agenda for approval. Once approved, the final budget is submitted to the county and the Department of Education. This year, we have year-over-year budget increases of out-of-district tuitions increasing $621,701, out-of-district transportation increasing $414,916. We have added a central school custodian salary and benefits for $75,000. We're adding central school utilities for $53,000 and security upgrades for $224,116. These additions total over $1.3 million. There are also other additions throughout the budget, including salary increases. 1920 year-over-year budget decreases. HVAC maintenance costs are expected to decrease by $48,000. Copier leases, $58,000. Purchasing consultant, $30,000. Staff cuts, salaries and benefits, $451,905. Capital reserve deposit will decrease by $262,936. General fund revenues. Our budgeted fund balance was $1,972,000 in 1819. In 1920, it was $1,557,000, which is $414,000 less than the previous year, creating a significant budget gap for a decrease in revenues. The preliminary proposed budget includes an increase in tax levy of $741,262, or 2.5% tax levy increase.
2% of the tax levy increase is $593,000. The additional tax levy of $148,252 is an allowable exception to the 2% tax cap levy increase. It's been capped that was created over the last 2 years' budgets when our health benefits costs increased by over $1 million. We will use this spend cap to fund security upgrades. Other revenue sources are tuition income, rent, activity fees, interest income, and state aid. Our expenses are made up of $15,409,000 in instructional expenses, support services of $18,357,000, and capital expenditures of $329,000. Our proposed general fund total increase over the 18-19 original budget is 2.18%. Our revenue history. When we look at our history of state aid, we see that in 2010-11, the state took away all of our state aid, which was $1.2 million. We've been gradually getting a little more state aid each year. This year, we welcome another increase in state aid, $125,745 more than the total received in 18-19. At $1,230,738 in state aid for 19-20, we are back to the level of aid we were getting before it was reduced in 2010-11. However, our expenditures have increased significantly since then. Our increase in tax levy in 2010-11, when our state aid was cut, was 3.2%. You can see that our tax levy increases since 2015-16 have been stable and between 2% and 2.5% each year. We're proposing a 2.5% tax levy increase for 19-20. Cost to the taxpayer. The tax impact of the general tax levy on the average house assessed at $547,957 is projected to increase by $261 for the year, or $21.74 per month. Since the town was recently reassessed, most houses were given new assessed values. In general, about a third were lowered, about a third were increased, and about a third remained the same. In order to compare the year-over-year school tax impact on the average house, we used last year's rateable so that we could come up with the amount of change that was attributed to the school tax increase only. This does not include any tax impact that the reassessment may have on a house. Our public hearing on the budget is scheduled for April 29th.
Okay, we will,
The slide where it says the 2019-20 year-over-year budget increases, are those all recurring costs or some of those one-time costs?
those are all recurring. I mean, they'll be new this year,
But
and they'll recruit,
But they're not one-time, they're all.
except for security upgrades. Right, that's a capital outlay. Okay, other questions
I
from the
have
board?
another one.
Culture?
On the next slide, when it talks about increases, the staff cuts, where's that coming from?
So it's too early for us to talk about specific positions that may or may not be cut at this point in time. I can say that the preliminary staff cuts are both from instructional and support staff positions. And since it's only March, we should not be discussing the positions at this time. Okay, other questions from the board? All right, we will open it up for public comment. Let's start with budget-related questions, and then when we have gone through the budget-related questions, then we will take public comment on agenda items only. Yes, Mr. Trump.
Harris Turan, I have students in the school district. Is that okay for you, Ms. Ginsburg?
I'm sorry, you have to speak up.
Is that okay for you, how I
That's fine.
represented who I am?
That's fine, thank you.
Additionally, the question on those staff cuts. Are they staff cuts to make up for the budget shortfall? Or are they potentially, like these are going to be staff cuts anyway? Or are you either laying off or firing people to close the gap in the budget?
It's a combination.
Do you have a percentage-wise of where the combination is?
We don't have
We don't know the percentage.
Thank you.
Other questions related to the budget? Yes.
Hi, Jennifer Fine, I have kids in the school system. I have a question about the additional out-of-district tuition and transportation. Going back to Dr. Ramos's comment, is that on top of what we already pay?
Correct.
And that is projected, do you just project for a year?
Well, I get a list of exact students that are going out and exact
Okay.
placements they're going to, and I get the tuition rates from those schools and all of their services, and they all get put in.
Right, so her question was, all of those additions were going to be ongoing. I guess we won't know that for year to year because we don't know which students need
Right,
placement.
so if a student goes to one school next year,
Right.
they may go to that
Right.
school the following year.
So a follow-up question is, not having any of those papers in front of me, do you know what the projected total is for the entire school system for next year for out-of-district
For tuition.
and payment, tuition and transportation? Because if that's $1 million, I thought we were already close to $1 million.
I want to, yeah, okay, so I don't want to.
But that's old information in my head, like, if you need to get back to me, that's
Just
You
1
might
minute.
give me a call.
fine.
We can come back.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
Okay,
Thank you.
while we're doing that, other questions? Before I speak to you, Mr. Tron, let me make sure no one else has another budget question. Okay, Mr. Tron?
I just have follow-up on her question. The out-of-district transportation, is that just for the transportation for those students to go out of district or other out-of-district busing situations?
The increase is for out-of-district busing situations.
And
I'm not
may I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah, sure.
Do you try to negotiate with these schools or with these institutions for better rates? Or do we just go in and say, we pay you what we pay you, and that, or they say,
For the-
that's what the rate is, that's what the rate
This is for
is?
the busing or the tuition?
Both.
So the tuitions are certified by the state. There's a certified rate that they're allowed to charge, and they stick to it. So it is what it is. The busing, we go out, we use Ed Services, and they go out to bid for us, and they award to the lowest bidder.
Thank you.
Mrs. Saul, I guess.
Yeah, Brother Saw, Children in the District. One quick question and one comment. Do you have rules in your bylaw regarding the behavior of Board of Education members in the meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I would comment that it seems on multiple occasions, a little more frequently, recently, but I've seen other times, there have also been times when Board of Education members lost control of themselves. And what I have noticed is, if that happens in the audience, and it shouldn't happen there either, you're very quick to slam the gavel and tell them to stop, which I understand. Yet I have never seen you slam the gavel and tell a Board of Education member to stop, when they've been arguably, in some cases, worse. So I think it might make some people less angry if you would try to be a little more fair and equitable in how you handle people. The other comment I've been wanting to make for a long time is that when you mumble among yourselves and you roll your eyes, a lot of us can hear it and see it, and it's very unprofessional.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Yes, Mrs. Tron.
Caitlin Duran. I have students in 8th grade and 6th grade. I would like to further comment on Ms. Sauer's point. Ms. Ginsberg, I appreciate you reminding everyone present of the rules and that we should all conduct ourselves accordingly. I was originally going to ask where the corresponding code of conduct for the board members' behavior is located. And in your statement, which again I appreciate, we can all use a gentle reminder, and we should really take it to heart. There were consequences listed in that, I call it a bylaw, I'm not sure of the technical term, where the consequences listed should a board member, for example, chase someone out of a room or want to take something into the hallway.
There are consequences, and I've noted your comment. Thank you. Yes, Mrs. Sala.
Do I need to repeat my name now, or is
No,
the first
for
time?
one-
Okay,
one-
I just want to know,
One is
and
fine.
I
One is fine.
documented it at the time, I have literally had a board member stalk me down the stairwell and scream out the front door at me regarding legal things involving my child, not even what was happening in the meeting. And you all are aware of that, because my attorney wrote a letter and asked you to retain the tape. So, in terms of things board members pursuing, and also as we know on the internet, you guys wrote some bylaws finally after some members behaved terribly on social media. Lest anyone think it is unlikely or laughable for somebody, a board member, to follow people out into the hallway or even to the front door. It is not.
Duly noted. Thank you. Other questions or comments? Do we have any other budget-related questions or comments? I'm sorry. So Barbara has the answer to Jen's question.
So the total transportation is $1,078,861, and the tuitions are $2,445,711. So the total is
A lot.
$3 million.
It's okay, I got you, it's a
Sorry.
three. So as a follow-up question, and this might be a higher question than the board because it might be more of a legal question. Is there at some point that we as a school system can appeal to, I don't know who, the state or the county to say, I cry uncle, like we can't afford this anymore without extended aid, or where's the line that we can draw that we just can't afford it anymore and be able to give our students comparable education?
So special ed costs are rising in a lot of districts. You'll hear this scenario in a lot of
Okay.
districts. There is extraordinary aid that is offered, but it ends up being a very small percentage of what you spend. But we certainly apply for that every year. You don't,
Okay.
for reimbursement, you submit all your expenditures. So you're not allowed to submit transportation.
Mhm.
But I would submit all the tuitions of $2.4 million, and in about July, you find out if you get any of that money back. But maybe we got $148,000 last year. It's a percent of a percent of a percent that you
Right,
get. There's a bucket of money that gets split amongst all the districts that are putting in for it. And I just feel like in all the districts, the special ed out-of-district placement costs are rising very quickly.
It's
for everybody.
something that every district, it's frequently the leading cost driver now in districts, even
Yes, I can
above
see.
healthcare, which is a primary cost driver. So it is something that is of concern. Both President of the New Jersey Senate and the Senate Minority Leader, Senator Kane, have pledged full funding of extraordinary aid, which is what Barbara's referring to. There has been some talk of changes to funding for special education, but of course that is dependent on the Appropriations Act, which they're discussing right now. So it's something that all districts are lobbying for, because this, as you have pointed out, is an extraordinary cost and one over which we have only limited control.
And I'll have one more question and then I'll stop here. Is there a point that I have to believe at a district level we can look and see, is there a service we can bring in-house? Just, I realize each student probably has their own special needs, which is why it's so costly, but even if it's year to year, I don't know how to make that personnel decision on a year-to-year basis, but if you're sending not two students to the same school, but if they're receiving the same needs, it would be less expensive to hire one aide and drive them up and down Ridgewood. I'm sure you look at that, I just want confirmation of that, that's all.
Yeah, we looked at that, actually. We started a program this year in
Okay.
district that kept students in district, so it's something that we consider. We have a group of students who were able to meet their needs, and we'll start a program. That's not always the case, especially when you're looking at from age 3 to grade 12.
Yes, okay.
It ranges students.
I know, it's a benefit to our town, but it just is, like you said, a burden. It will
Thank you.
start to become a burden.
And I saw your hand.
Thank
I have
you.
an agenda question,
Sure.
but sort of the same thing, it's for Weisman. So, item number B, Grade Transportation Service, I'm sorry, Diane Preston.
Thank you.
Sorry. B3, Transportation Services Agreement for the 2019-2020 school year. We're switching from Essex County to Morris County to bid on our transportation applications. And I kind of two-part question, is that for both in-district transportation and out-of-district, and all the contracts that we have? And kind of what was the reasoning for switching? Was it problems with quality, problems with safety, or something else that I don't know?
These both. Essex County and Morris County. We sort of shop around and see where we can get the best price.
So you could still be using
I could use
both?
Yeah.
Okay, so just authorizing, including.
Just
Morris.
authorizing to be able to go to Morris County too.
It's not
If
switch.
Essex doesn't have, if we don't like the price of the bus, we should get on the phone and shop around and try to get a better price for Morris. A lot of times it depends on if another district has a student going to that same placement, then you can share the bus and cost get split into two. So if Essex doesn't have anyone on the same bus, we might try different ed services. See, do you guys have a bus going to this school?
Okay, so it's mostly just also price and efficiency, not
Right.
really quality.
No.
Mr. Turner.
I just wanted to follow up on a couple of the points about sending students out of district and some of the new resources to keep students in district. And while it's a rising cost, without breaking confidentiality rules, which are the most important, are you allowed to break down categories of students going out of district?
With the number of students that we sent out of district, that number is too low, so if we did break it down by categories, it could be
It
identified.
would be identifiable. Could you tell me how many students, now that you mentioned that?
I believe we sent 31 students.
31 students. And so I just want to make a comment that by bringing in some of the services, which are the ESS services, to try and mitigate sending students out of district, besides the ESS services, have we provided any other services in the school district while we're learning to see if we can bring some of the therapeutic students into this program to train them in other ways to help out these students? Or are we just kind of bringing students in, mixing them with certain students, and then finding out how they go and learning as we go if there are problems that arise?
I'm not clear on the question.
Is there any other training besides just the ESS program which you're using to cut down on sending students out of district? Isn't that the purpose of the ESS program?
Not completely, no.
Is it part of the
It
program?
may prevent students from going out. It may allow us to better serve students who would stay in whether we had ESS or not.
Are those the only services we have to provide to those students?
Students have access to other services. We do have professional development for our staff to work to train them on how to deal with students with a variety of needs.
Okay.
Okay, I'll leave it with one final note because people had follow-ups and they were allowed to do it too. I wanted to just note on the record for other parents and students and the board to know that to try and cut down costs on sending students out sometimes have repercussions to other students unnecessarily and not in the public view or that everybody knows about.
Thank you. Yes.
Diane Preston.
Yeah.
I just want to say something clarifying, because it seems to be getting confused at the last two meetings, that ESS is not a special ed program, and that the students in that program are not necessarily special ed.
Right.
And it's a counseling service, and
So therapeutic mental health
yes,
service.
right, but it's not, they shouldn't be equated, they're not the same.
Thank you for that. Other questions or comments? One more, Mr. Trent.
I will just note on the ESS website that their specific one of their top goals is to cut down on expenses of sending students out of district.
Okay, we cannot control the ESS website.
I didn't say you were, I didn't ask you to, I'm just
Thank you,
noting
Mr.
that that's their, one of their primary
Other questions or
objectives is to.
comments? Okay, seeing none, we have some administrative items. It is not the first meeting of the month, so we will dispense with committee and liaison reports unless somebody has something that is time sensitive. Okay. We have in our packet some minutes. Mr. Campbell, would you read the minutes?
Move M1.
Okay, may I have a second?
Second.
Is there any, does anyone have any corrections, additions, deletions from the minutes of March 4th? Okay. I'm sorry, yes? Typo, Charlotte Peterson's name. Oh, school board strength, yes. We can fix that. Thank you, Anthony. Okay, that being the case, Barbara, would you call the roll?
Mr. Bonnet?
Aye.
Ms. Boyle Luci? Aye. Mr. Campbell?
Aye.
Ms. Lang? Aye. Mr. Romano? Oh, sorry. Ms. St. Aubern? Aye. Dr. Yaros Ramos?
Aye.
Ms. Ginsburg?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. Personnel, Tracy.
Yes, I move P1 through P8, which includes 2 items on the agenda.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
Second from Ally. Keeping with our rules, personnel-related items are discussed in executive session. Barbara, when you're ready.
Mr. Bonnet?
Aye.
Ms. Boyle Luci? Mr. Campbell?
Aye.
Ms. Lang?
Aye.
Ms. St. Aubern?
Aye.
Dr. Yaros Ramos?
Aye.
Ms. Ginsburg?
Aye. Heather, would you move the curriculum items?
Sure, I move C1.
Okay, may I have a second? Second from Teresa. Does anyone have any discussion or questions on these field trips? Bless you. No? All right, Barbara, would you call the roll?
Mr. Bonnet?
Aye.
Ms. Boyle Luci? Mr. Campbell? Ms. Lang? Ms. St. Aubern?
Aye.
Dr. Yaros Ramos?
Aye.
Ms. Ginsburg?
Aye. Okay, Mr. Campbell, would you move the business items, tabling item B4 pending further board discussion?
B4B or B4A and B? Are you tabling B4B or B4A and B?
Let's see. Just before B.
Okay, so B4A is also B.
Right, so B4.
So I move B1 for B9, tabling B4B.
Okay, may I have a second? Yes. Was that a second? May I have a second? Second from Anthony. Okay, Heather, question?
My question has to do with the last page 7, it's part 2, I guess, of 9. I don't remember this. Is this a new thing, establishing a budget for travel?
Yeah, it's part of the motion that's required by the county.
Okay, so it's a new.
It's probably in the different format than you used to, but it's part of the motion every year.
Okay.
Other questions? I'm sorry, Barbara.
Just to note, B9 is actually on the agenda revised for next year.
Okay, any other questions or comments on business items? Okay, Barbara?
Mr. Bonnet?
Aye.
Ms. Boyle Luci? Mr. Campbell?
Aye.
Ms. Lang? Ms. St. Aubern?
Aye.
Dr. Yaros Ramos?
Abstain for B9. Aye, everything else.
Ms. Ginsburg?
Hi.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Going back on your agendas, board members, we need to move the item that's listed under administration. Listed under A1. Mr. Campbell, would you move that?
Move A1.
May I have a second? Any comments, discussion on that item that can be had in public session? Okay, Barbara, are you ready?
Mr. Bonnet?
Aye.
Ms. Boyalucci?
We skipped it.
HS 9.
Mr. Campbell?
Aye.
Ms. Lang? Aye. Ms. St. Auburn? Dr. Yaros Rivas? Aye. Ms. Ginsburg?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, we have now come to the second public comment period for comments and questions on agenda or other items. Mrs. Sala.
Under B4B, which is approving the appointment, I understand you're going to vote on it later, contract with Leslie Saint Esquire of Jackson Lewis, provide independent investigation for the 2018-2019 year at an hourly rate of $250 for all attorneys. So, what kind of investigations do you need? You already have a law firm, Phoenix now, and so why do you need another law firm?
Dina, would you like to speak to that?
And also, you have people internally who I imagine can do investigations, in my experience.
We do. Athena?
Sometimes the circumstances warrant somebody outside the district conducting an investigation.
Why? Okay, I think we're dancing around the topic here. Folks, one of the things they do is contract with people for HIV investigations, in particular when their own people have not done a proper job or they have issues. And you are putting yourself and your child at the mercy of yet another law firm. I would never, ever put it this way, I would look strongly into it before I let my child be involved in anything like this, or yourselves.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Yes.
I have a question, Charlie Breslin, Veteran Children in the School. Is it a case where a child would ever be brought in front of any law firm or without notification of, or any outside person without notification of the parents, or how would that possibly happen?
Dana, can you address that?
It wouldn't. It would be a discussion with the parent, and no one's required to participate in any investigation. They're given the opportunity, and they can choose to participate if they're comfortable or not.
So somebody in advance would have notification and would have the ability to do research or see outside counsel. And I take it that this is for matters of investigation, which as the school, you feel that you are not trained or able to take to the next level if there's a level, or?
It's not a matter of training or a next level. It's just a matter of sometimes the circumstances warrant it.
Okay.
1 minute, Mrs. Sala, let's just see if there's anyone
That's
else. Does anyone else have a question or comment? Okay, Mrs. Sala.
Yes, just so you know, when I've declined to participate in something, I received an email from an administrator saying that they couldn't imagine why I would decline to participate only if my child was guilty of something and in fact, my child was the victim. So it's not as neat and sweet as Ms. Cornell makes it out to be. My other point is, in the last meeting, you all needed to hire a separate criminal defense attorney group. You approved money for that for some reason. Now we have yet this law firm for quote investigations. What is going on in the school district that you need criminal defense people and quote special investigations?
Dana, would you speak to that?
Again, sometimes the circumstances warrant that, and I apologize if it seems evasive that we can't discuss every matter that relates to students or staff or litigation or anything like that, but sometimes the circumstances warrant it.
Mr. Trump.
In a regular school investigation, do you have the right to talk to witnesses, student witnesses, without contacting their parents? Not the outside investigation, a school investigation, a school administrative investigation. Do you have the right, and is it practice, to interview students without their parents' notification or without parents there?
Again, there are times when there are certain circumstances that an administrator or a staff member would need to talk to a student in the moment, but but that's always a conversation that's.
No. I'm asking specifically, counsel, in an HIV investigation that's conducted by the school, if there are other students who are witnesses and interviewed and have written statements, do you ask their parents before that?
It depends on the circumstances.
So sometimes you do ask the parents, but there are times that you interview students without asking their parents.
Again, it depends on the circumstances, Mr. Duran. I can't answer more specifically than that. There
Have
are
you,
certain-
has the, Ms. Ginsburg, has the board district ever thought about an opt-in or opt-out policy for having a student represented by their parents in any type of investigation before that happens? I have to tell you that I don't want my student interviewed without a parent present. Is that correct?
I will take that under consideration. You've asked a complex question that I need to discuss with council. Thank you. Mrs. Sala.
I have written repeated emails asking that my child not be interviewed without a parent present, and your administration has violated that repeatedly. They don't honor it.
No. Any other questions or comments, Mrs. Turan?
Caitlin Duran, I have 2 students in the Glen Ridge School District. The current policy, as described to me by the administration, is that the school district has opted all of your students into that situation. The administration does, as Ms. Cornell stated, sometimes interview students for an example, a HIB investigation without notifying the student's parents. You may opt out for your students. I think it's important to get that on the record. I appreciate, Ms. Ginsburg, that you will look into making a change to that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have time for one more question, Mrs. Sala.
Yes. What are the consequences for administrators who ignore parents' requests to opt out?
Well, I can't comment on that because that's a very general question, but we will discuss it.
Well, would you like to give me my specific example?
No, not at this time. We can't discuss personal, student, and legal matters, so we cannot comment on it this time. Okay, I think we will close out public comment now. Board members, any further business before we adjourn? Oh, I'm sorry, yes, sir.
Can I speak freeform? No,
Please go ahead,
there it is.
please.
I'm
I'm
Jeff.
sorry, I didn't see your hand.
Sorry, Jeff Pryor. I'm an 8th grader in district, and I'm here to talk tonight about something phenomenal that's happening in our school system and our community by extension over the past 2.5 years.
Okay, phenomenal is good.
You guessed it, it is the Glen Ridge Middle School Theater Program and the Glen Ridge Middle School Drama Club.
I believe you have some people.
So I'm not asking for anything. I just want to, bring it to your attention, put it on your radar. These fabulous programs. I'm joined tonight by. I was going to name them all, but
No, I can see that.
raise your hand. And we're all here. We're all here on behalf of hundreds of kids and parents who have participated in these incredible programs. And just a couple points. I'm going to start with numbers. 2.5 years ago, the administration hired a new director of program in middle school. She inherited a program that had 85 participants. Her first year, it jumped to 150. Year 2, it went to 200. This year, it's at 210, and there are 30 to 40 kids doing tech, stage crew, all the things that help bring these things to life. So that's 250 kids in this program. The director also, understanding that she didn't want to leave 7th and 8th graders out in the cold, started the Glen Ridge Drama Club. It's been running for 2 years. There's 65 students. It is second only to marching band in participation. So there are now over 300 students participating in theater at the middle school, which is astounding. That's a third of the entire student body, right? So that says a lot. Number 2, and I'll be brief.
Sure, thank you.
We have incredible talent in this school system. It's really special. If you've seen any of the productions, it's on parade in front of you, and I beg you all to come in 2 weeks to Guys and Dolls over at RAS. in addition to the countless students who are talented, we've got family members who participate, volunteer, lend their time and coaching to make these experiences incredibly special. And that's very rare in any community, and it definitely sets us apart. Great story, when the kids were doing Lion King, the director brought a friend of hers, Alton Fitzgerald's wife, who played Mufasa on Broadway. He watched the kids do the opening number in rehearsal, and he gave every kid a note. Every kid, 150 kids. That's how this program operates. No kid is minimized. Every kid gets their chance to shine and star in these productions, which is an amazing achievement for a director if you consider that there are 200 kids participating in these things. Finally, there are benefits to this program that go beyond what you're going to see on the stage. It's 100% inclusive. Number two, its acceptance is implicit. It's a safe haven for any kid who wants to participate. Confidence. Kids gain new sets of confidence that's going to have real-world application, whether public speaking or getting in front of this crew, this crew here. And the last is camaraderie, family, belonging. And these programs all give the kids a sense of family and belonging. The majority of the parents here have students who are in 8th grade, so they're going to be graduating from this program. So I hope that tells you how strongly we feel about it. There's no personal benefit in my words to my child and many of the kids here tonight. We just feel that if it's properly nurtured moving forward, it's going to be something that this board can brag about, that the administration can brag about, and that kind of makes us a unique community. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you, and thank you all for taking the time. Now, board members, we need to adjourn into executive session because we did not finish all of our exec session business in our allotted time frame. We will adjourn into executive session and then briefly come back out after that is concluded. So may I have a motion to adjourn? Motion for David, may I have a second? Oh, I'm sorry. And action may be taken at that time when we adjourn out of executive session back into public session. So David, you've moved, may I have a second? Second from Heather? Okay, thank you all. The board has met in its second executive session. We're now ready to resume a brief public session. We first want to attend to item B4B, which we tabled in our previous public session. We will now go ahead with it. David, would you move item B4B?
I move item B4B.
Okay, may I have a second? Second from Teresa. Any discussion on item B4B? All right, Barbara, when you're ready. Mr. Bennett?
Aye.
Ms. Boyle-Luigi? Aye. Mr. Campbell?
Aye.
Ms. Hill, oh, sorry. Ms. Lang? Aye. Ms. St. Aubert? Aye. Dr. Yaros-Ramos? Aye. Ms. Ginsburg? Aye. Okay, we have one additional item. It is item A2. David, would you move that as well?
I move A2.
May I have a second? Second. Second from Tracy. This is a student matter which was discussed in executive session. So Barbara, when you're ready. Mr. Bennett?
Aye.
Ms. Boyle-Luigi? Mr. Campbell?
Aye.
Ms. Lang? Aye. Ms. St. Aubert? Aye. Dr. Yaros-Ramos? Aye. Ms. Ginsburg? Aye. Carries. And now, because we came back into public session, we will have a brief public comment period. Are there any questions?
I'll ask questions. Harris Turan.
Yeah, that's fine.
I have students in the district. So you affirmed to retain Jackson Lewis after the second executive session?
Yes, we took an affirmative vote.
And A1, is that a different hip that you affirmed? Is that
A2.
A2?
Oh, I'm sorry, I will read out A2.
There's a copy right here.
It is, HS, number 10.
So there was a resolution on HS number 10 in the second executive session? Are you all going to let me know about it? Do you want to go back into another executive session with me to talk to me about it? You could just gonna mail me something about it. We're on public session here, so it's about me and my family. What do you want to do? I came back to sit here.
Procedurally, Athena, can you outline the next steps?
Procedurally, we would send the board's decision to you in writing.
Do you know when that's going to happen?
We usually try to send the letter the same time as the first, which is within 5 school days. But the vote was that based on the information we have, it's not substantiated. Right.
Okay.
All right.
Do you have any information about hip number 11 or 12, whatever the next one is?
Not at this time.
I'm still waiting on that information. Council, do you know when I might get some information on the
So
other?
we'll see what the timeline is on that. I don't believe it
Well, we're
will
kind
be
of at
before.
the end of that timeline.
Number 11.
Hold on one second.
Number 11 we discussed.
Yeah, so,
Introducing a letter.
right. So that's in the initial process, initial phase, so you'll get the initial letter on that with regard to what the recommendation is. Then the same process.
What
so
date are
then-
you using as the date of that procedure?
I'm sorry?
I asked to go into executive session. I give you the option. I waited here all night to hear the end of this.
So, can I just tell you, let me just explain what the HIP process is in general.
I understand the process in general.
Okay.
So we have had our public comment period. We've had our 2 items for public session. If the board has nothing further, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Moved by David, may I have a second? Second from Heather. Thank you.